The Cold War gave us climate change because the propaganda against the left was so effective, it prevented conservatives from getting over their tribalism and giving credit where credit is due. I'm Mark, I run the Civics Factor, a channel dedicated to exploring what is missing from our civics education. And I think if we want schools to talk about climate change, they need to start with the Cold War, because it's the Cold War that gives us so much of our modern politics today. And our modern politics today is fucked up.
We are seriously at a tipping point. I don't know. I worry. I don't know how many people actually are aware of how close we are to losing our country as founded.
The new menace to liberty is groupthink gone global. The globalization of groupthink is guilefully disguised under the green fig leaf of pietistic environmentalism. From behind that fig leaf emerges today's tumescent totem of totalitarian tyranny, climate change.
Far-left socialism has now taken over the Democratic Party, a new radicalism.
Because their view is to use climate change as the cause of bringing about global socialist control over the economy. Their goal is central planning and socialism. Their means is dealing with climate change.
Many are saying, Facebook is full of this, that the storms are proof of global warming, never mind their lectures.
These people on the left that you've described, the mob behavior, is really a series of psychological disorders that have taken over politics. We have politicized psychological disorders.
I am a patriot, and you are a traitor! People, hail victory!
Police said that he told them that all liberals should be killed because they were ruining the country.
It appears that what brought him to this horrible event was his lack of being able to obtain a job, his frustration over that, and his stated hatred for the liberal movement.
One of the books police found in Adkisson's apartment was Michael Savage's Liberalism is a Mental Disorder.
Liberalism is in essence the HIV virus, and it weakens the defense cells of a nation.
In it, Savage calls liberals the enemy within our country, an enemy more dangerous than Hitler, traitors who are dangerous to your survival and who should be placed in a straitjacket. Police said that Adkisson had targeted the Unitarian Universalist Church because of its liberal teachings.
Socialism is evil, period.
We don't give enough credit to the Cold War as being an influence on our modern politics, but the Cold War deeply influenced how our politics works today. The tribalism between left versus right, the talk about communism and capitalism, the fears about overtaxation and big government, all these have roots in at least the Cold War, but it also touched on a lot of things that are more based in science, the more anthropological aspects of politics. So something like tribalism. Humans have a need to belong to something greater than themselves. It gives them a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning. Now, tribalism, our tendency to get together in these smaller groups and have some kind of in-group, that has been with us since our hunter-gatherer days. For reference, listen to moral psychologist Jonathan Haidt talk about tribalism, and particularly this aspect of tribalism, the kind of in-grouping and out-grouping that we do.
Third foundation is in-group loyalty. You do find groups in the animal kingdom, you do find cooperative groups, but these groups are always either very small or they're all siblings. It's only among humans that you find very large groups of people who are able to cooperate, join together into groups, but in this case, groups that are united to fight other groups. This probably comes from our long history of tribal living, of tribal psychology. And this tribal psychology is so deeply pleasurable that even when we don't have tribes, we go ahead and make them because it's fun.
And it is because of our need to belong to a tribe, that's where politics can go really wrong. Because when we look at issues, when we talk about issues, we have to give credit where credit is due. Elsewise, those issues are not going to get solved. Because frankly, the economy, automation, joblessness, climate change, these things do not care what we call ourselves. They do not care what tribes we belong to, what political stripes we fly. It doesn't matter to the issues. They either exist or they don't. We're either solving them or they're not getting solved. And one of the ways they don't get solved is if we can't give credit where credit is due. Well, that's what tribalism does to us, though. It prevents us from giving credit to where credit is due because it becomes a matter of who said it rather than what was said.
I personally think that some scientists started talking about global warming and it got politicized and they figured it was another way to extract human beings' money because of fear. That's my opinion. Okay?
87% of scientists said that human activity is driving global warming, yet only half the American public ascribe to that view. So,
well, what website is
87%, and this is
Scientific American.
Yeah.
Yeah, .com though, like 'cause that means it's making money. I don't trust that. If it was a .org, I would probably take that. But this is just a random website, and I don't trust.
Scientific American is not necessarily a random website.
I don't believe this like at all. Just so you know.
So Obama's talking about all of this with the global warming and that, and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's a hoax.
The president has tweeted climate change skepticism at least 115 times, including a claim that the concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese.
If you take the greatest insights from ancient Asian philosophies and religions and you combine them with the latest research on moral psychology, I think you come to these conclusions: that our righteous minds were designed by evolution to unite us into teams, to divide us against other teams, and then to blind us to the truth.
So how did the Cold War give us climate change? It amplified the tribalism that was already there in human psychology and gave it these extra tools of media with right-wing radio and Fox News and Breitbart and social media, and brought our culture to a place where people judge each other based on who they associate with and what they are, versus what they say and propose and present as evidence in a conversation about the issue. And it's because of our neglect of civics education and civics itself that it's brought us to this poisonous place now, where climate change is likely going to be so much worse than it has to be.
You know, bullets aren't going to destroy this country. Al-Qaeda is never going to destroy this country. But our own words can destroy our democracy. Like, that actually could do it if we play this hand wrong. And I said that makes partisan rhetoric actually a matter of national security.
It didn't have to be this way, but that's how we got here. So one way out of this is by bringing it back to civics education and showing people and teaching people how to actually disagree with one another constructively, to understand how political marketing works, to understand how tribalism works, to understand everything that a political marketer or advertiser knows how to manipulate and exploit human psychology. That needs to be the starting point of our civics education. I say often that you can't fix what's broken if your tools are also broken. So our politics, our means of coming together to talk about these issues, that part itself is broken.
That in the argument, the discussion in this country about politics, you can disagree with people, go for it. Democracy comes out of disagreement and compromise is great. But what you cannot do is point your finger across the aisle and say, not only are you wrong, but you shouldn't exist.
So to teach climate change properly, we have to also teach the Cold War and how it influenced the partisan culture that is preventing us from climate action. Please support this channel by liking and subscribing on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're feeling extra charitable, please consider donating on Patreon. Thank you.